every season, I at least have to drop a couple of Heart of Inmost Light builds around the seasonal artifact, and I already have an arc build out, so in this video, I wanted to go over all the advantages we can get with the Void subclass. So this is what the exotic looks like. We have a couple ornaments here. We have this like Vex theme ornament and a Taken theme one, which I really like because the colors on it look fantastic. Obviously had to make it purple for Void, but if you don't know its perk, Overflowing Light. Using an ability, whether it's your grenade, melee, or barricade, empowers your other two abilities. Empowered means abilities have faster regen, melees and grenades do more damage, and your barricades have more hit points. Now that we understand that using our abilities pretty much makes our other ones stronger, regen faster, etc., let's talk about what to use under these seasonal artifacts. So first up, I would recommend authorized mods Void and Melee, reducing the armor energy cost for those respective mods, especially our Void weapons, and the Melee mods, which we are going to take advantage of, so we can also put on other mods that cost more. Keep that in mind. Now, the other ones you're going to want are here in this, I guess, middle row. All three of these in the middle. So first up, Unto the Breach. Defeating a Void debuff target creates a Void Breach while your Void subclass is equipped. So killing a target that's either volatile, weakened, or suppressed, any of those debuffs, will automatically create a Void Breach. Now, I will say we do have fragments that kind of already do that. They do have certain other properties with them, Echo of Cessation, for example, defeating volatile targets creates a Void Breach and also has a finisher aspect to it. So when you finish, it actually makes other targets volatile around it. So there is that portion of it. Same thing with Echo of Harvest, for example. Defeating weakened targets creates an Overpower and a Void Breach. So there are like little benefits to these other ones under the Void Fragment, but as long as you're going to be utilizing all or even just a couple of the debuffs, Unto the Breach is going to be creating that Void Breach. And there's a reason for that, because not only on the seasonal artifact, but other stuff on the subclass we'll talk about later. But next up is Protective Breach. Picking up a Void Breach gives you an Overshield or refreshes your existing Overshield. So once we create that Void Breach, we pick it up, now we get an Overshield. And then lastly, Supernova. Picking up a Void Breach causes your next source of Void damage to create a large weakening pulse. So essentially, these all work together. Create a Void Breach, pick it up for Overshield, next Void damage, whether it's your weapon or your abilities, will create a weakening pulse around all those targets. Next, let's cover what I'm using under the Sentinel Void subclass. So for the super, I'm going to be using the Ward of Dawn. You could use Sentinel Shield if you'd like, but Ward of Dawn is more practical, has a faster base cooldown, really good for survivability and other things, especially if you're with a team. For our abilities, you can choose the Towering or the Rally Barricade. Doesn't really matter for this build in particular. For your movement ability, I like Strafe Lift, but use what you want. For the melee though, I would recommend the shield throw so you can hit multiple targets, and it does give you overshield whenever it hits a target. So that's really good. And then for the grenade, I like the Vortex Grenade. For our aspects, first up, Offensive Bulwark. While you have an Overshield or inside a Ward of Dawn, your grenade charges significantly faster, you have increased melee range and damage, and melee final blows extend the duration of your Overshield, and you gain an additional shield throw while you have the Sentinel Shield. But the main thing with this is that whenever you have an Overshield, you get a multitude of benefits, which is really good. And the other one we're going to be using is Controlled Demolition here. So hitting a target with a Void ability or Volatile Explosion makes them volatile. Further damage to a volatile target causes them to explode. Grants you and nearby allies health when volatile targets explode near you. Really good for ad control. For our fragments, I would highly recommend Echo of Undermining. Your Void Grenades weaken targets. It is a -20 to Discipline, a pretty big hit, but it does allow for that weaken, which can proc Unto the Breach. And it's really good for applying a debuff to bosses and killing a bunch of ads very fast. Since we are using the Vortex Grenade, it's going to suck them in and kill them a lot faster, which can be really good. Now, the second one I would highly recommend is Echo Starvation. Picking up a Void Breach, you hear that? Void Breach or an Overpower grants Devour. It is a -10 to recovery, but again, when we pick up that Void Breach, we do gain an Overshield plus Devour, which final blows will restore you to full health, grant grenade energy, and extend Devour. Essentially, it is a survival mechanic and a way to get that grenade back even faster. Now, for the last two fragments, you can kind of play around with what you want, but these are two that I really like. First up being Echo of Remnants. Your lingering grenade effects have an increased duration, so that means our Vortex Grenade will last longer. And then secondly, Echo of Instability. Defeating targets with grenades grants volatile rounds to your Void weapons. And if you didn't know, volatile rounds actually can pop anti-barrier champion shield, so this could be potentially helpful. Now, if you want to look into some other ones, you could also look into Echo of Expulsion. Void ability final blows cause targets to explode, is a +10 to intellect. Now, obviously we do have Controlled Demolition. Just note that when you kill them, they explode and the demolition goes off, so it's kind of like a double explosion. It's not absolutely necessary, but it is entertaining. If you want to be a little more basic, you could do Echo of Exchange. Melee final blows, grant grenade energy. Very basic. There really is no downside of this one. It's just get that grenade back even faster. Now, let's go over the armor mods that I'm using. So first up here on the helmet, I'm using Hands On and Ashes to Assets, pretty much a gain bonus super energy on grenade and melee kills. Then I'm also using Void Siphon, Rapid Void Weapon Final Blows, create an Orb of Power. Since I'm going to be using Void Weapons with this, I might as well create Orbs of Power for myself and my team. On the gauntlets here, I do like Firepower, your grenade final blows create Orbs of Power, and then also Momentum Transfer and Impact Induction. Pretty much causing damage with my melee and my grenade gives a cooldown for both of those abilities respectively, so pretty much as long as I do damage with one, I'll get ability energy for the other, and vice versa. On the chest piece, you can use whatever combination of reserve and resistance mods that you like. Personally, I'm on Titan, I'm going to be up close and personal. I do like melee damage resistance, but again, use what you're comfortable with. And then since we are using Void weapons, I would recommend Void Reserve so we can have that increased ammo. Now on the boots, we do have a couple options, but I would recommend at least one Void Weapon Surge. Again, your Void Weapons gain a small bonus to damage while you carry any armor charge, and now your armor charge decays over time. Essentially with armor charges, if you collect an Orb of Power, you gain an armor charge. Minimum, you can have 3 armor charges here, and with any of these blue mods, it actually puts a timer on those armor charges for 10 seconds base-wise. So once you have 3 armor charges, that's 30 seconds of this bonus Void Weapon damage. So just going to be good for us overall. Now for the other mods, I do like Invigoration and Innervation, so when I pick up an Orb of Power, it reduces the ability cooldown for both my grenade and my melee. You really do not need Recuperation for this, which is a very good mod, but since we're on Titan, we're going to gain an Overshield, we're going to have Devour. We have a lot of survivability mechanics that we really don't need Recuperation on this. You could look into using something like Orbs of Restoration here. Again, picking up Orb of Power grants a small amount of energy to your ability with the least amount of energy, and then you could also use something like Elemental Charge. This is a new one, but collecting a Fire Sprite, Ionic Trace, Stasis Shard, Void Breach, or destroying a Strand Tangle has an escalating chance to give you an armor charge. And with all the Void Breaches we're going to create, this could potentially be another way that you can gain armor charges. And then lastly on the class item, I like using Outreach and Bomber, so when I use my class ability, it does give me grenade and melee energy. And then lastly, Time Dilation. Your decaying armor charge now has a longer duration, so that 10 seconds that we would have with Void Weapon Surge actually gets bumped up to 15 seconds, so if we have 3 armor charges, that is a total of 45 seconds of this bonus weapon damage. Now for stats for you to focus on, talk about every video. Try to have tier 10 resilience, 100 resilience. It's going to give you a 30% damage reduction in PvE. And on Titan specifically, resilience is actually tied to how fast you get that barricade back, which for this build really isn't necessary, but again, that's just something to think about. Then I would also recommend focusing on discipline. Discipline is tied to your grenade stat, then also your strength. Strength is tied to the melee, so again, we can just abuse our abilities with this. Now, in regards to weapon options, there really isn't any specific weapon that you need to use here. Again, Void weapons we do want to take advantage of 100%, so if you have any good Void PvE weapons, definitely put them on with this build. If you have any weapon that can come with destabilizing rounds, you know, like I have here with my Hero's Burden, Final Blows cause nearby targets to become volatile. Again, does help with the synergy a little bit, can potentially proc onto the Breach, so you can keep that in mind. But if you're like, David, is there an exotic that's pretty good for this? Highly recommend getting the Wave Splitter. This thing is disgusting. So, intrinsic trait, Harmonic Laser. Laser damage has 3 power levels that oscillate while the trigger is held down. Also, Polygonal Rifling, Enhanced Battery, and then Fitted Stock. And then its trait perk, Supercharged Battery. This is the key one here. Collecting an Orb of Power grants a period of maximum power that starts with an automatic reload. Sustained fire in this mode suppresses targets. So, not only when collecting an Orb of Power, it does the maximum amount of damage and reloads it, it also causes the suppress debuff, which again, as we know, procs onto the Breach. So this thing can be very good here. And if you're going to use it, you can replace one of these helmet mods with something like Special Ammo Finder, so you can find more of that special ammo. If you're still a little confused about how this build works, I'm going to break it down for you, because honestly, there really isn't any crazy setup with this. There is a couple things that we do want to take advantage of though. Obviously with the Heart of Inmost Light, once we use one ability, it's going to improve those other abilities, but with regards to everything else, right? The first thing that we want to do is create a Void Breach, you know, whether it's, you know, a weakened target from our grenade, you know, a volatile target from either controlled demolition or potentially our weapons with volatile rounds, or if you're using Wave Splitter, like I said, pick up an Orb of Power that can suppress targets, that will also create a Void Breach. Once we pick up that Void Breach, it's pretty much game on, right? So pick that up, protect a Breach kicks in. Now we get an overshield, and also our next source of void damage will cause a weakening pulse. So we already have it set up to gain another void breach on top of that. Now, not only did we gain an overshield from picking up a void breach, Echo Starvation kicks in, proccing Devour. So now as long as we chain kills, we have very good survivability, and we're going to get that grenade back even faster, which again, our Vortex Grenade lasts longer because Echo Remnants and weakens targets because of Echo Undermining. Now, like I said, we do have the overshield. Offensive Bulwark kicks in, giving us increased recharge for our grenade, increased melee, range, and damage, and can extend our overshield if we get melee kills, which is really cool. Now, also, Controlled Demolition. Anytime we use any of our abilities, our grenade, our melee, whatever, will cause volatile to targets. Like I said, very good for crowd control. Basically just makes everything explode in Void Light. And with everything with our armor mods, it's just bonuses from there. Obviously, if we create Orbs of Power, whether it's with Void Siphon, getting those wrap kills with Void Weapons, Firepower from getting kills with our grenades. Again, we pick up those Orbs of Power, we gain armor charges. Again, each one's going to last 15 seconds because of time dilation, and Void Weapon Surge gives us bonus weapon damage for 15 seconds base-wise with 1 armor charge. On top of, whenever we use our melee on our grenade, Hands-On Ashes to Acid kicks in, giving us more super energy, impact induction, and momentum transfer kick in, pretty much reducing the cooldown for our melee and grenade whenever we use it. Picking up Orb of Power with Innervation and Invigoration on our boots gives us a cooldown to our melee and our grenade again. And if we ever decide we need those abilities and we don't have them, we can always pop our Barricade, our class ability, and Bomber and Outreach kick in on the class item, giving us, again, grenade and melee energy. As you can tell, everything here is catered to you having Overshield, Devour, a lot of debuffs that you can apply with the Void subclass and your weapons, and also having those abilities back constantly. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is my Season of the Deep Heart of Inmost Light Void build. Let me know what you guys think of the comments. I'm also going to pin the build dim link at the top of the comments, so if you want to copy everything that I'm using, test out for yourself, you can totally do so. Again, let me know what you guys think. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Is there something that you like better that you can substitute on here? I'm definitely willing to hear you out. I'm testing stuff out in this game all the time. In any event, if you like what you saw, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then turn that bell next to notifications so you don't miss out on another build video here on the channel. If you want to tune in any live streams, I actually stream live here on YouTube, and if you want to be updated when I am going live, other YouTube videos, and basically any of my other content, be sure to follow me on Twitter at ItsDaveTV. Again, like I said, I give updates there. And then also, be sure to join my Discord. Again, we are talking about Destiny 2, a variety of other games, plus PC tech, anime, and more. Lastly, if you want to look into supporting the channel, you can always become a member. If you don't know what a membership is essentially like a Twitch subscription. Again, it's going to give you access to the exclusive emotes, monthly badges, and other cool stuff here on the channel. Again, it's just another way to support me so I can continue making this content for you guys. If you want more details, all you have to do is press the join button, next subscribe, and that'll give you a rundown with all the details you need. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been your boy. We'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.